Record. So good morning, everyone, to this Workforce Wednesday webinar. My name is Kirsten Bayer, and I'm with the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support. We are excited to bring you this webinar today about exploring strategies for recruiting and intake that gets results we're going to be hearing from the Job Center of Lake County. Before we hand it off to them and our OET performance partners, Mark Burgess and Paula Berry, just a couple of housekeeping items. I'm here for facilitation, and then any questions for webinar logistics, you can feel free to reach out to me via the chat if you have any questions. We are recording today's webinar. It will be posted on Illinois WorkNet as well as our Illinois Workforce Academy website. So you can locate it in both locations. It typically takes about 48 working business hours to get the recording edited and uploaded to both websites, so please allow us that time. You will also receive a follow-up email tomorrow that will include the link where you can find the recording, as well as all the presentations from today. So we will be sharing the presentations out in a PDF format following today's presentation. We won't have them available during the presentation, but afterwards we will be sending them out in that follow-up email tomorrow. And you can locate them on the websites as well. You will also have a follow-up survey tomorrow that we ask that you participate in. I sit on the WIA Professional Development Committee, and we do look at the feedback on the surveys. There's questions about this webinar particularly, and then you can also answer some questions about future topics and future professional development that you feel like you might need. Our committee is formed so we can meet the system where you all are at and really provide that PD that the system needs in your local areas. So we hope you do take the time to take that follow-up survey. We also have closed captions on today for accessibility reasons, or if you like them for note-taking purposes. And then for your participation today, you do have full capability, like a regular Zoom meeting. You can have your camera on, you can unmute yourself. We do ask that you refrain from unmuting yourself or asking questions live until the end of the session. We will have some time for live Q&A. If you have a question or comment during the session, feel free to type that in the chat. And let me just go ahead and make sure that everyone can participate in the chat here. It might be closed. Sometimes my Zoom settings likes to do that to me. And we'll get started with some beginning polls as well. So the first Workforce Wednesday webinar poll that we always do is just where is your local area at from today? So if you could answer that question, we would appreciate it. And we'll give everyone a couple seconds for that. Let me just make sure everyone can participate in the chat. Yes. All right. Give a couple more seconds. I have about 80% of you have answered, but it looks like for the majority, we have people joining from a good mix. So we have sprinkled across Chicago, quite a few people from Northern Illinois, quite a few people from Central Illinois, and a couple from down south as well, which it's always nice to see a good span across the state, because really for this PD, we want to be hitting all parts of our state from the very tippy top to the very bottom. Okay, I'll go ahead and end that poll and share the results just so you can all see kind of what I'm talking about and where everyone else on today's webinar is kind of located at. And then we'll go ahead and launch our what is your role in the system? Okay, so we want that poll mark. Okay, excuse me. Let me just launch the correct one here. Oh, it's for some reason not letting me launch it. Hold on one second. Oh, I don't know why it's not letting me launch it here. I've never had this problem. I apologize, everyone.
We can go ahead and skip by
Is the
that.
location, oh, the location poll is still shared. I'm sorry. That's my fault. Excuse me, everyone. Oh, it's been a morning. Okay, there we go. Now it's launched. That was the problem. I forgot to close out the location one, so I apologize. Okay, so Title 1, what is your role in the WIA system? So just a local board member, a chief elected official, if you're whatever title you're in. You could go ahead and answer. If you're a director in a different title, you can go ahead and put the Title I director as well, or you can feel free to comment in the chat. And then while everyone's still answering this poll, I can hand it off to you, Mark. I can end this poll here in a couple seconds. It looks like we have most people are directors, one-stop operators, a couple local board members and local board staff, and some system administrators as well. If you didn't fall into one of these categories, you can feel free to type in the chat. And I will go ahead and end that poll. And then Mark, you can go ahead and take over.
Great. Thanks, Kirsten. Thank you for the welcome. And thank you all for joining us today. We're gonna keep you engaged today. We've got another poll. This one, and we're gonna ask for you to enter into the chat a response. We really want to kind of get a sense of what your local area, how do you summarize or describe your local area from a demographic perspective, whether that be your participants or economically, that you think really describes and dictates some of the policies that your local area develops from either the local board or from your program itself. Gives us a great idea of as we move forward on other webinars and developing material for these kind of webinars, sessions at the WIA Summit next week, or even policies in the future. It just gives us a better sense of what we're dealing with. We hear all the time from you that what works in one LWIA doesn't work in another. So it'd be great if we can see some of those differences where they're at and be able to incorporate that into our thinking. So in the chat pod, just identify your LWIA so we can see what your description is, and then just a few words of how you would describe it. Do they have the ability? I'm only seeing one response right now.
Yes, they do have the ability to type
Okay.
in the chat.
All right. Give yourself a little time to think about that. Rural areas. And I think at the end, as you have those ideas in your mind, once we hear from our partners at LWIA 1 and 13, we might ask how their information might be adaptable to your local area. We've got a pretty large LWIA in LWIA 1 and a rural, fairly small LWIA in 13. But even then, you might have a difference of demographics in your LWIA if you're central or southern state. Keep that in mind again as you asking questions or respond to any of the presentation today. Appreciate all those descriptions coming in. Thank you. Keep those coming in. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide, but I want to get to our presenters today. We do have, like I said, LWIA 1, which is Lake County, their job center. We've got Jennifer Everett and Eva Locke. They'll be provide a little intro when they present, and then following them, we will have an opportunity for you to ask them questions, and then we'll turn it over to our partners there at LWIA 13. Teresa Cherry and Lori Warren will be presenting on material there. So it's great. We've been asking for quite some time, Paul and I, in our office hours and other webinars, for some of you to provide us some of your best practices, some of the processes you've incorporated that you think lead to success, whether that be performance success, whether that be efficiency, accuracy in reporting. Any of those things is a success. It doesn't just have to be that you've met your performance goals. So we finally have a couple good pairs of presenters here that we want to have them share their information with you today. We'll be looking at recruiting and intake from Jennifer and Eva, as well as some additional intake information and the application process being used in local area 13. And at the end, as I mentioned, we want to hear from all of you. So prepare your questions. We'll open up the microphones at appropriate times once each of their presentations are done, and have a summary session at the very end. So, be involved today, and ask them questions to clarify how you can take what they're going to provide you, and incorporate it in your local thinking and potentially in your formal policies. Just quick summary of these types of activities and services. All boards should have policies on outreach and improved access to make sure you're getting the individuals into your WorkNet centers that you should be. Your equal opportunity officers should be looking at your demographic data and matching it up to some of your participant data and ensuring that you are getting them in the door, and that there aren't any challenges to them actually participating in your services when they have the need. So your board policies should be up to date and followed. And there's allowable costs for these types of activities. So if you're concerned about how you're going to afford a little marketing campaign, maybe, or how you're going to do outreach, your funds are allowable to be used in those situations. Outreach intake orientation are required prior to enrollment. Certainly information will be continuing on once they complete an application and are determined eligible in the program, but you got to get them in the door first. And so that's why we wanted to hear from some of our local partners there. Engagement can occur at one of your WorkNet centers. And as we all know, during the COVID era, we talked about this as we were planning for this session today, that we still have some residual effects of COVID, even though we're 4 years into it. So they're going to provide some follow-up to how they've been handling that. But we can continue taking and serving individuals virtually if that's how you're set up in your local areas. And then finally, to prepare for the application presentation part, everyone does have to complete an application. We need to get certain information from them. OAT has been working to update policies on that application process, on all of the eligibility determination requirements and things of that nature. So we want to continue to help you succeed in getting individuals in the door, getting them determined eligible, and providing them the services they need. And we'll continue to do that as we hear from all of you, and also hear from Department of Labor as clarification. As just one last statement with that eligibility determination, we're doing a lot more self-attestation to try and help the participant get in the system and not be unduly delayed by trying to get documents that maybe aren't even available or difficult to get. So with that, I really want to turn it over to our partners. I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer and Eva first to go over their marketing, outreach, and intake processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. As was mentioned, good morning, everybody. My name is Jennifer Everett. I'm a program manager here at Local Area 1, Local WIA 1 in Lake County. Eva, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. I am Eva Locke. I am the one-stop operator. I work for Lake County Workforce Development, and I'll talk about operations partway through this. But I think it's helpful to know that I represent sort of the core services, the non-enrolled services, and Jennifer's bringing the expertise for the WIA enrolled services today. Is it possible to share a poll real quickly? Yes.
So part of what we're going to be having a conversation today about is how we've expanded our information session outreach. And so we are really excited to hear from some other folks across the state how you're currently doing it. So if you could, for us, this would be helpful to let us know how you're encouraging, what your process is to get those intake applications, pre-applications going and connect with your American Job Center. So if you could just answer this for us, it would be helpful. And again, we'll be sharing during our presentation what's been working for us. And I just wanted to add, Mark had said maybe share a little bit more about ourselves just to say that for some of you that have been in this business for a while, I do date back to JTPA days. So I've really seen some amazing work and continuous improvement over the years, not only how we assist our job seekers in the system, but also the employers. And I think that that really is something that came under WIOA and then, or WIA and then WIOA for all of us. So to see both those customers and to make that connection between our job seekers and our employers. I don't know if everybody's had a minute to answer that. We'll just get started. So we're going to be sharing with you particularly our recruitment strategies and outreach into the community, which then really dovetails into how we feel we're getting more successful intakes. Next. Thank you. So the Job Center of Lake County is located. We are at the northernmost in the state. So just to give you a little bit of demographics, we are the third most populous county in the state of Illinois. We do have approximately 700,000 residents, so we are quite large. We are definitely a mix between urban and rural, so we do share that. That presents challenges, but also wonderful opportunities. So we're always looking at how we can impact those different demographic areas. Where we're located, it's on the most eastern part of the county, and this is definitely more of our poverty area, economically disadvantaged location in our community. And then just to give you an idea, we're probably about an hour to the most western part of the county, and that becomes more rural. And then also to the southern part, it's more urban, and then we're close to the border of Wisconsin. Our workforce board's really been putting in priorities and initiatives for us to give us that roadmap on how we can do more outreach successfully into our areas of the community, particularly where transportation is an issue, which I know is a lot of what we all struggle with. But in order to ensure that all residents and community members are aware of us and connect with us, we do have a priority of service, particularly in certain areas for accessibility and inclusivity. Thank you. Next slide. So the agenda today is just to bring you some of those best practices. And it's funny, when we talk about it, we're not sure they're best practices. It's just what we do and what works for us. But we hope it's a good takeaway for you all in the state, even if it's one small nugget or small idea that can help you serve your community members better. So we'll talk about our comprehensive communication plan. We'll talk about 4 particular outreach strategies we utilize, and then culminate with our virtual information session. Next.
So I'm going to start sharing about our overall communications and outreach. Mark talked about the importance of everything starts with outreach, right? Now, we've been long involved with outreach, but in particular, last year, our board procured a vendor to assist us in developing a uniform and strategic communication plan that addresses those areas of inclusivity and gives us a uniform and polished look. So some elements on there include, on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a mini image of our monthly career solutions e-blast. We did build on the content in this. We've long sent out an e-blast about upcoming events, but this now includes success stories, program information, etc. And just to give you an idea on the scope of this, when we sent out our most recent e-blast, letting individuals know about pertinent information for March, it went out to over 20,000. That type of open rate for emails is outstanding. The emails are sent out. It's a mixture of email addresses from, of course, staff from Job Center partners, other service organizations, government employees, educational institutions, our board members, of course, and then obviously job seekers and individuals. So that's one piece of our outreach. We also, our website, and I encourage you to visit it, lakecountyjobcenter.com. And we were involved in a refresh for the entire county on the look and feel of our website. Again, met with the vendor and then also the county about what we wanted to have our website look like and how we wanted to improve and streamline navigation and content. So very proud of the end result. We feature workforce solutions for businesses, career resources for job seekers, have a few featured job opportunities on here, and a robust calendar of events. One of my favorite pieces of the new website, and can't take credit for this, this was part of the overall refresh, but in the upper right-hand corner, there is a translate tool, and you can click that and view the website in the language of your choice. We do have 3 major, again, revised flyers. These we launched in January of this year, and they address 3 elements. Your American Job Center talks about the core general services available to all job seekers. Your Career Solution talks about the enrolled WIA services, including both training or a paid work experience. And your Talent Connection talks about the workforce solutions that are available to businesses. Now, on the next slide.
Thank you. This is one of our outreach strategies that we have found great success with. As many of you, I'm sure, partner with local libraries, as do we. This is a list of our locations that we visited in 2023. Particularly, we're always going to be looking at the libraries, one, in our underserved or more economically disadvantaged areas. We want to make sure that we are getting out and presenting some of our job search workshops in those geographic areas. And then also other areas that, again, might be further out in the county that lack public transportation. So we want to ensure that we get out around the county for visibility. Primarily, a lot of these partnerships are libraries. We do deliver, we have 4 signature workshops. One is called Ace Your Job Search. One is Interview and Negotiation Boot Camp. Again, the themes that we all work with, but that's been really exciting to get out to the community as we do regularly. Also, we work with University Center, which is attached to or on the grounds of, I should say, of our local community college. And that's really where folks can do continuation, post-secondary, and into more getting their bachelor's taken care of. So that's been a wonderful partner as well. Next. So as part of this outreach strategy too, not only are we going out to deliver job search workshops into the community, but a more recent initiative is for our staff to go together. So it's sort of team building, any staff that's available. We go to different locations. These are nonprofits, different businesses. Aon is one of our financial employers, very large, that has been sharing with us how they're doing their apprenticeships these days. So it's really a mix of different, again, nonprofits, community areas. Particularly, this helps us to look at, again, that continuation of the underserved communities or communities where we're seeing certain target populations that we really want to engage with. But it's education for us, for staff, and then we get to meet different staff too as well when we're doing these kind of outreach activities at different areas that are very important to our overall job center core partners or required partners or just additional partners and stakeholders in the community. Next.
The next strategy involves full partner involvement. And we use the term partner to mean many things. So I want to specifically state that this involves the 14, for us, it's 14 MOU partners who sign MOUs saying that they'll contribute to the job center or one-stop system. And they're involved in a cost sharing agreement to ensure it's all okay. We just lost the presentation. Excellent. We just met again to reaffirm, is this what we want, or do we need to we made some minor tweaks, but these are our 4 major integration goals. And on the next slide, you will see who, for LWIA 1, who the job center partners are. So again, to give you a context, the Job Center of Lake County is operated by a consortium that includes the College of Lake County, the Division of Rehabilitation Services, the Department of Employment Security, and then Workforce Development. I act as the one-stop operations lead, but I check back in with our consortium leaders as we put together activities and programs. On the outer circle here, you're going to see our other job center partners. Now, just letting you know, a couple of these appear more than one time. I've categorized them sort of in different buckets based upon what they do. So together, we offer expertise in the areas of job and career training, youth services, housing, adult education, disability services, and general social services. I will mention here that we offer a internal referral system, very simple. We call it Unify, so that any of the frontline members from any of these organizations can send a direct referral to one of the other organizations so that they can get in contact with the referred individual and give them information about their services. I won't give a lot of details about Unify here. I've spoken about that previously, but just explaining how we connect. And to give you a full picture here, the only members that are physically at the job center full-time are from Workforce Development and the Department of Employment Security. We do have others who visit us on a part-time basis, but it is that electronic or the online connectivity that makes everything work for us. Next slide.
So continuing on for another outreach strategy, this job center on the move, as we've phrased it, started almost 2 years ago, I believe, or at least 1.5 years ago. Again, not necessarily a new concept of us getting out into the community, but the difference here is this is very regular, structured, scheduled. Again, we took a look at what areas in the community really need our presence. So when we look at that priority that the board has set for us for DEI lens, different areas so that we're ensuring that we're getting the traffic where it needs to be. We are set up at our libraries, at a couple of them. Again, these are more economically disadvantaged areas. And what I want to share particularly is this organization called Legacy Reentry Foundation. This is a local nonprofit that has really been growing in the last couple tips. Thank you. So we do get that teamwork approach and team effort from another one of our partners, usually either somebody from adult basic education, somebody from
And And so it just gives an entirely different feel. The Job Center is in a College of Lake County building. We ourselves are government. And so we found that some individuals who've had issues in the past with the legal system might not walk into our building, but they're willing to walk into Legacy. Very good. So we'll move to the next slide. I want to share with you some information regarding kiosks. And full disclosure here, we got this idea, and I love the fact that the one-stop operators in Northeastern Chicago, we meet together and brainstorm best practices. And this idea came from the WorkNet DuPage Career Center. Anyone here from WorkNet DuPage today? I'm watching the chat. Like, I want to give a shout out to y'all. So they shared information regarding kiosks and tips and the vendors that they use and what this looks like, and really just smooth the way for us to stand up 2 kiosks. We've started very modestly. We have a kiosk, and you can see the picture on the right side of the screen here. We have a kiosk at the Waukegan Public Library and one at the College of Lake County Lakeshore campus. And then on the left side of the screen, you can see 4 areas that individuals can access from the kiosk. We're using an interface that really limits how much they can surf. And you can imagine we don't want people using the kiosk to check the latest sports scores, etc. It's really focused here. So they have 4 options. On the upper left, they can fill out the WIOA pre-screening questionnaire and access information about WIOA services. And Jennifer's going to share more information about that at the end. On the right-hand side, they'll click into a section on our website that has jobs vetted by our a short list of jobs and employers vetted by our business service team. We call that page Hire Lake County. They can also access our calendar of events, including job search workshops, outreach, and job fairs. And then bottom right, the information about the 14 MOU partners and about how they can go about connecting with them. We will let you know that we have plans to add 6 more kiosks, and this time we are targeting organizations that serve immigrants and refugees. So as a piece of this, we are working on translating this initial image so it will be available in both English and Spanish. That was at the request of some of the sites that are agreeing to be our next kiosk hosts. Next slide. So I'll start regarding the virtual information session, and then Jennifer will give you some follow-up details. During COVID, as you can imagine, we needed to find a digital solution to how individuals can apply for WIOA services. Again, either the training or the paid work experience. What we decided to do was to set up a virtual information session. Initially, we had a vendor who made this possible during our migration, and at the beginning of the year, January, we moved this where we have total control of it. It's hosted on our website, and the actual applications are available through FormStack or accessible through FormStack Pro. We are not asking all of the information that would be used in a full WIOA application. That will come later. But we are asking enough information so that we know if this individual has additional needs. Perhaps they need to be referred. Let's say one of the questions is, are you fluent in English? Yes or no? And then if they say no, would you like to learn about English classes? And if they again say yes, someone will call them and set up a referral to one of our 3 adult education partners that provide English classes. So a couple of things happen when individuals click into the virtual information session. They first see a short video clip. It's 6.5 minutes long. Talks about general job center services, the partners, and the WIOA process. So what used to be about a 20-minute orientation, we've really boiled that down because we know people do not like to watch long videos. That video is available in both English and in Spanish. And I should say the video does include job center hours of operation, general services, etc., and accommodations for those with disabilities. They're then prompted to fill out this WIOA pre-screening application. And then on the right, you can see what some of the follow-up is. Applicants can see and hear tips regarding next steps. Immediately after applying, they'll receive an automated email regarding those next steps as well. And applications are distributed to the appropriate personnel. Referrals will be sent to partners, as I mentioned, on behalf of individuals who expressed a specific need. And one process improvement is that this application in FormStack is now integrated in Salesforce. That's the tool that our business service team uses. So they can see, they've got their business information. That's the needs, and then they've also got the incoming workforce, and they can connect the two. On the next slide, then, you are going to see some data regarding traffic. Jennifer.
Thank you. So what we wanted to do here was show you some trends that have been going on. And in the 2019 column, we basically picked a month, a snapshot, to be able to see that and take it through over a couple years. So in 2019, we were still running, this was pre-COVID, so we were running our information sessions in person. Really, we had never even thought about the virtual world prior to this. So we held two a week. We had a Tuesday afternoon and a Thursday morning, and if folks weren't able to physically get here, that was a real struggle. But this gives you this look to see. We had in January of 2019 80 applications. If you then take it to 2021, a couple of years later, after this virtual information session has been kicked off and going, you see those numbers start to increase to 126. These are those pre-applications that Eva just spoke about. And then currently in 2024, to see the picture, even from 2 years ago, we've doubled in those pre-screening applications, and we saw 240 in 1 month. The exciting thing, I think, is to see the trends of what communities we are seeing these virtual information sessions from. You can see, and I won't go through again every grid and every benchmark, but in some areas we struggle to get the data or to ensure that we were tracking all the data. So when you see an So again, looking at the data, this is helping us see that this is working. We are getting that access and being able to really reach different corners of the county, or where folks might not have heard of the American Job Center. They are hearing about it. They are taking advantage and really connecting with us. And just some of the other statistics that we're able to see, of course, is if it's 24 years and younger, how are our youth coming to us? We're seeing a big increase in young adults as well, which is excellent. And then additional demographic information we're gathering on that WIOA pre-screening application. But what I really wanted to do then is share with you those annual totals, right? So you can really see the numbers. So when we look at PY21, we had 1,200, 1,255, again, an increase to 22. We're not quite doubling, but now we're up around 2,156. And then for 23 so far to date, we are at 1,946 pre-applications. So we fully believe that we should exceed 22. Again, just gives us really good resource information so that we can see where we need to be, where are the gaps, where else can we bring the message of the job center and ensure that we're hitting, again, the underserved areas or different target populations that we really want to make sure that we engage in. So really the virtual information session has been a game changer for us. I also want to share that certainly if somebody is not comfortable signing up through the website, perhaps is limited with technology access, we certainly still have phones. We have, we answer those and we can work with them that way and get connected, or we're open for 5 days a week from 8:30 to 4:30. So certainly somebody physically could come in, or somehow we would connect with them. Again, if they're not comfortable when we're out in the community, we can assist. We bring laptops when we go to those locations and really assist people access the website for us and then get on and fill out their WIOA pre-screening application.
Jennifer, real quick,
Oh.
before we leave this slide, I wanted to share that as part of our overall communication plan,
Facebook
Yes. For the first time ever, we took out Facebook ads, or our vendor did, in January 2024. And I attribute some of the increase there in applications and the increase perhaps in youth applications, particularly to that ad.
Thank you, Eva. And also the kiosks definitely are also assisting. So this is good for us because we can continue to look at that data to help make those decisions for the future. And next. We are wrapping up, everybody. So again, just in summary, we were able to share our communication plan, our comprehensive communication plan that we're continuing to roll out, our different 4 outreach strategies that we're continually looking at to see how successful they've been. And then our information session, that virtual information session, we continue to tweak it. And as Eva mentioned, whether it's a video or something that we've shared that maybe used to be 20 some minutes, it's down to 6 minutes. So we'll continue to look at our community and see how we can meet them where they're at and ensure that they have access to connect with us. And then in the end, what we're finding is we're able to meet our enrollment numbers, work through that intake process, and really have just a wonderful variety of folks in the community that are accessing us. We're hitting those vulnerable populations and our target populations and continuing to see positive results. So we feel it's a win, obviously, for our community members to connect with us this way through all these different strategies. And then in general, able to meet the performance on the back end, which is important for us all to continue to receive those funds to continue to assist more folks in our community. And I think that does it for us, Eva.
Yes, just to close the loop for everyone though, individuals who apply to that pre-screening questionnaire. Obviously, there's more people who fill that out
Oh, yes.
than who receive training, the paid services, training or paid work experience.
Right.
But all of them are added to our monthly e-blast list. And they're receiving a service. They're connected to all of those events, the job search workshops, the job fairs, the different outreach. They're informed about the outreach. So ultimately, they all receive a service.
Eva, thank you so much. That's important. And I think we might have time now to take some question and answer here.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer and Eva. Anyone have any questions? I did just post one in, great information. And I'm sure there's some other LWIAs that would love to steal some of your materials, and information. The video is probably one that doesn't quite work out that way. So I've asked in the chat, we're getting a couple of responses, about a video, possibly if LWIAs are interested in having a marketing video, but don't have the resources. We spoke about this earlier, and I'm going to follow up again, but OET, we can look into it. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but we might be able to do something on a general level. Certainly, you as an LWIA would want to add your own touches to it of information, whether that's I don't know if that could be something that would be embedded with your contact information specific to your LWIA, or just posting a general video on your website, your board's website. But we'll look into this again. Appreciate those responding already. We do know, some of the LWIAs have a little bit more challenges than others, or have other priorities that take away some of their resources. So again, those are the kind of things that if you're interested, let us know at OET, and we'll pursue and see what we have available to support your efforts, and really applaud LWIA 1 and all the other ones that have been able to prepare these. All of you have your own marketing and outreach materials, all working well, I'm sure. So not wanting to take away from what all of you are doing. But we want to help you improve that if there's anything we can do here at the state. So I'll take note of those in the chat, and drop us a line anytime, and if you need to talk to some of your fellow directors or administrators or board, and come to find out that maybe that's of interest, let us know. We'll make sure we share that with management here to do. So anyone have any questions specific to what Jennifer, Eva presented today? How you can maybe adapt some of what they've shown to your local area?
Mark, this is Eva. If I may just share, in regard to the video we use for our virtual information session, we call it a video, but realistically, it is a PowerPoint presentation, and PowerPoint has a feature whereby you can record voice and then you can export it as a video. So it can be a super simple document. I'm saying video, but it doesn't mean that a videographer walked in and videotaped us.
That's great to know. That's all these other types of resources that can be developed are good to hear, so that we learn that it doesn't have to be the most expensive, hire actors. I remember years ago, when I was working for the department initially out of college, worked for the safety program, and we did a video to promote our services, and it was a 5-day, all day long endeavor of recording piece after piece, multiple people, multiple angles, multiple areas of different facilities, showing different machinery and other things, and to get a 15-minute video. It was unbelievable. Never imagined in my life it would end up taking that much time. So we certainly don't think anyone has that kind of resources available to them. If you do, let everyone else know how you're managing your funds to make that available. But there are other kind of what you call down and dirty ways, or even still professional, as Eva described, that maybe we aren't aware of. I wasn't aware of ability to do something like that. I know, people can put up a PowerPoint, but then adding on the audio makes it a little bit more personal, so there's another method if you're looking to put something together for your local area. We can, again, help you if we need to reach out to some of our partners. Not sure if Kirsten's team there at ICSBS can help on that, or maybe someone at WorkNet from Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. But we again want to hear from you and help you as possible. If there aren't any more questions, I'd like to turn it over to Teresa Cherry and Lori Warren from LWIA 13. They're going to provide us some information on their intake and then application process. And I think, Kirsten, are you going to share their PowerPoint as well, or are they doing that?
I do not have a PowerPoint to share for them.
Teresa and Lori, if you want, I just sent it to you, Kirsten. Sorry, didn't send it in the original email, so you should hopefully have it in an email now. If that's if not, I can do it too, Teresa or Lori. How do you prefer?
If you guys could share it, that would be great.
Yeah, I have it pulled up now, Mark.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, take it away, Teresa and Lori. Thank you.
Perfect. So I love that, Jennifer and I are on some conference meetings, and I love the idea of taking what they've done in LWIA 1, but I need to recognize that I don't have as much funding as she does. So, and I love the ideas, and I love that we can take a lot of what has been distributed. I will tell you, Lori wants a bus to travel around, so I'm looking for funding for that. But one of the ways that I want to start by saying about 5 years ago, we did a fundamental shift in the way that we think about the application process. And it became much less about eligibility and funding and much more about suitability. We're taking a holistic approach to the way individuals come in to our job center, and what you're seeing is a culmination of our thought process beyond just what we do in Title I and the way this application process came to be. So next slide, please. I'm going to let Lori take over and kind of walk you through the process as a whole, and then I'll follow up at the end. So you're on, Lori.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to get to share my ugly office sweater with you today. Our air conditioning is working very well on this Wednesday. So I want to start with our intake process. We have a lot of people who approach us in different ways. We do have an initial application on our website that people can fill out to request an application. We have a lot of people who come in person to use the resource room who end up wanting to do an application. We do an information session every Tuesday morning that people will attend and then ask for an application. Yesterday, we were doing a rapid response for a facility that is closing down, and we got a list of people who will want an application. So our customers contact us in many different ways in order to request an application for our services. Our application is a fillable PDF. So once somebody requests that information, we will go ahead and email it to them, or we have it here on our laptops in our resource center so somebody can sit down and complete it that way. And then we ask the people to return that application to us. Once we receive that application, or let me back up here, it talks about the 3 essay questions. We revamped our entire application a few years back, and we did so. And for those of us who have been around a very long time, we've always done our applications really just to kind of mimic what was an IWDS and the application of what it asked for. So a few years ago, we kind of backed up and looked at our application and thought, there are things that we need to know in order to start the process in the system, but there's also other things that we need to know from this application that is going to help indicate when we do go to suitability rather than just being eligible, and questions that we do have for these people. So one of the things we did was we added essay questions to the application, and the 3 essay questions that we have are actually listed here. Why did you select this field of study, and how will your education contribute to your immediate and long-term goals? What if the panel only had enough funding for one person and it was between you and another student? How would you present yourself as the better candidate or as the best candidate? How would you describe a time in your life where you demonstrated leadership and overcame obstacles either through school, social, or family life? We felt these questions were a good way to get some good insight. Also, when people ask essay questions, a lot of times they can really share their strengths, or they could start showing us barriers that they're going to have in their life in regards to just day-to-day or being able to complete their training. We all have, I'm sure, had those conversations about how are you going to support yourself while you're in school? Do you have your child care taken care of? There are some trainings out there that are 40 hours a week. How are you going to do this 40-hour week for 4 weeks or 6 weeks? There are a lot of considerations for people. So these essay questions really kind of start that process and those conversations and help give us insight. So once the customer has provided the application or emailed it back to us, they are actually provided with a checklist. And this checklist was created as far as the steps go to get consideration from our panel for a scholarship, and then what's the next step after that. So when we provide that checklist to every single person who completes an application, and we do so because we feel it would give them an opportunity to kind of see what the process is, so that we're not, hey, I turned in my application yesterday, what now? Hey, I did this, what now? Like, so people have that in writing for them. Next slide. So once that application is returned, the application is reviewed, and it is reviewed to determine how somebody could be eligible. Though we are not basing all of our scholarship approvals just on eligibility, and we really are focused more on that suitability, we like to know how somebody is eligible, because we would like for them to provide that eligibility documentation prior to moving forward. We have had people in the past that have come in and said, I actually remember I started off many, many years ago as a trade career planner. So, and that was my entire job. And I do actually remember somebody at one point who had been able to get other people to say they were getting services that they weren't actually receiving. And those services would have been what would have based their eligibility under trade. So, I mean, that's just something we've all had experience in the past that, people say things and we need to know, is this upfront? Is this true? So we require that they provide their eligibility documentation as part of their application process. And that's something that we'll notify them. We do notify all communication through email. We do make phone calls as well. But this day and age, a lot of people don't like voicemail anymore, or they don't clear out their voicemail. So we always make sure that we don't just use that as our only means for communication. So we always send an email as well, as far as to notify them like what the next steps are, what documents that they need to provide. Also in that email, we provide with them what we call our Illinois WorkNet packet. So there are so many different things we ask of people. We ask them to register for Illinois WorkNet. We want them to do labor market information. We want them to answer questions in regards to the field that they're requesting a scholarship for, to make sure that they understand what is the job market like, what are the earnings for the position, what are the requirements for this position. We want to make sure they understand what they're asking for and what the job is about when they're done. We also ask that they do some job searching. So is this a market in this field? So I'm sure everybody can say, in their local areas, there really is a drive. LWIA 13 really is a manufacturing environment. We are very blue collar. John Deere is our largest employer. And the vast majority of the other employers in the Rock Island area or in the Quad Cities is suppliers to John Deere. So we are a big manufacturing area. And then once you get outside of the Quad Cities, not very far, it gets very rural. So a lot of agricultural type and small towns. So though something might be a position that has great earning potential and many job openings and is an approvable training, it might not be something that's marketable here. There might not be a job market here. So we want to make sure people understand what they're asking for. And in that process, we created locally this Illinois WorkNet packet, and this packet actually incorporates all of those components into one. It also has them do an interest profiler assessment to make sure that, you know, they are moving into a field that is something that they want to do. If somebody likes what they do, they're more likely to complete their training successfully, get a job, stay in their job, advance in the field, that sort of thing. So that's kind of where our profiler assessment that we incorporated into the WorkNet packet came from, because we want to make sure, you know, CDL, truck driving is a good example. CNA is another example of fields that people could get training, go out and get a job. In our area, they both pay very well. And, you know, it's self-sufficient employment, but there are also jobs that you really actually have to like doing that every day. In order to be happy in that job. You can't fake sitting behind the wheel of a semi, driving down the road by yourself all day if you're super, super social and need that regular interaction with somebody else. That will make you miserable. In the same token, CNA is an example of a field where we want to make sure people understand what they're getting into. That's a tough job. And it's a very, very emotionally straining on somebody. So we want to make sure they understand what they're asking for. Next slide. Once they have completed that, there are some other activities that are going on in the background with our office as well. So certain training programs, we require an acceptance letter to that program. An example would be like nursing. Any of the programs where the schools require you actually complete prereqs and apply to get into the program, we require a letter of acceptance into that program before people start asking for assistance. Also for like certain programs like CDL, we ask that they complete their CASAS assessment ahead of time. And that is because we only have 2 providers in our area that actually do truck driving training. And one of them told us with the changes of the Department of Transportation taking over CDLs across the United States and the trainings and regulating this, the material has grown very large. So one of the training providers, their training is actually 4 weeks in length, and the other one is 6 weeks in length. So with the amount of material that they have to cover in such a short period of time before they actually do their drive portion, they ask that people have a certain level of reading in order to be able to get through that material. Also, with the new regulations, they are required to do their drug screening prior to getting behind the wheel during their schooling. But I believe it has to be within a very short period of time. So we ask for a drug screening prior to actually even applying, and then they'll have to do it again before they get behind the wheel. For programs that require state registration or license, we do check public records for criminal history or offenses in the past. We're looking for those things that would stop them from being able to get on a registry or stop them from getting certified or licensed in a field. It is not necessary for everybody. We tell people all the time, your criminal history could be a barrier to you, but if it isn't something that's going to affect you working in that field, it isn't necessarily going to affect you getting assistance. So, you know, if you have if you were incarcerated and you're with a reentry program, and we work a lot with reentry, we talk to the people about, you know, how does this affect their prospective jobs? How does this affect training? you couldn't serve time for, I'm trying to think, murder, and then not have to go through a process to get a nursing license. I mean, the state of Illinois would not allow a nursing license. So, I mean, there's just so many different things that, we look for, but only if it's going to affect you being able to work in that field or getting licensed or registered, that sort of thing. Now, with truck driving in the state of Illinois, we actually worked with the DMV and they came back and explained to us that owing fines in the state of Illinois for criminal offenses can stop you from getting a CDL. Not necessarily is it going to stop you, but it very well can stop you. Or if you got pulled over for speeding 2 weeks after you got it, they could pull your CDL because of those fines. So we ask people to pay off their fines prior to moving forward for truck driving. And for healthcare workers, the state of Illinois has a list of offenses. I actually created the list of offenses for the career planners that would stop them from being able to get onto the registry. And we actually have created a waiver process to assist people if they need to apply for a waiver out of our office. So we do have some things that we consider in the application process. If somebody cannot work in that field, somebody in our office always will sit down with them and have a discussion about it. We believe very much so that, being very straightforward with people and making sure that they understand, even if it is just a struggle. With truck driving, we say there are certain offenses that you cannot get a CDL license. And that's coming from the Department of Transportation. So if you have these certain set of offenses, you cannot get a CDL license. But there are other offenses that will very much affect you being able to get a CDL job. So we are very honest with people and have those direct conversations because we want to make sure that they are making the best informed decisions for themselves and their family, and that they're taking a path that, that the option of success is there. It's not just about putting somebody in a chair in a training facility. It's about what do we need to do to help them be successful in life. So are in their path. Next slide, please. Once all the required eligibility documents are received, I actually review them. There are some times that I'll have a question that I'll ask our application, our person who collects everything, our resource specialist, to go back to the client and answer a few questions ahead of time. But most of the time, the applications are then given to a career planner in our office, and that career planner will contact that person and do what we call a pre-panel interview. And that really is the whole who, what, where, when, why. It is the, asking some of the questions that we have and how are you going to move forward and why does this, why is this the one thing you really want to do? We do have people that will come in and maybe they're the nursing program is something that really stands out for me. They require a CNA, as it's not a prereq to the nursing program. They can do their prereqs, apply, get into nursing, but they have to have their CNA done before they can start it. It's just kind of one of the things a lot of the trainings in our area require. So somebody might come in and ask for assistance or a scholarship to pay for their CNA. And this would be an opportunity for a career planner to sit and say, well, wait a minute, you're going to nursing too. So, I mean, to really kind of make sure, why people are doing it, what is the best path for that person, get some of the details from the person who is applying. And then once they complete that pre-panel interview, they actually put together a summary of the conversation in the interview and actually enter that into case notes in IWDS. So then our resource specialist takes the application, the eligibility documentation. If there is any criminal history records that we would be applicable, and then the notes from the pre-panel interview and the WorkNet packet and the assessment results and everything, and she uploads it onto our shared drive and then sends out a notification to all the members of the panel that and we can give them the opportunity to appeal if they want to the panel's decision. We give them all of that information.
So
Next slide, go ahead.
Wait, if I could just interrupt you just for a second. I want to just say out loud that when I go to these panel meetings, I am the worst devil's advocate because I ask all the questions. You know, hey, they want to go into truck driving, but they got 5 kids at home. How's that going to work? Or, you know, is this suitable? Is this the right path for them? And I am the worst of the worst, Lori will tell you, in asking suitability questions. But I do want to make note that sometime in that conversation, there is most of our career planners are at a point now where they understand, hey, I need to look at what else this person might need. Do we need to contact DHS? Do we need to get them on SNAP? Does this person need some ESL conversations? What other wraparound events or services need to be applied to help this individual succeed? And I'm just going to point this out because this is, and I used this example this morning. You know, we could take someone who's receiving SNAP benefits, receiving housing benefits, receiving childcare benefits, put them through a CNA program. Next thing you know, they're getting a job and they're making okay money, but not great money. And the next thing is they're losing their SNAP benefits. They're losing, you know, their housing benefits. They're losing their childcare benefits. And we've now put them in a position where they're worse off than they were financially before we got involved. So those are some conversations that take place. What's going to happen to this person after the fact? And are we truly making, is this a best choice for this individual? And how do we need to develop a path that makes sense so that we don't, the last thing in the world we want to do is risk putting someone in a position that is worse off than before they met us. And so those are a lot of the conversations that we have. So I just want to admit that I'm the one that asks all the questions. But again, it's really more about what's in the best interest for this individual. So I'm sorry, Laura, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're okay, you're okay. I mean, that really is what the panel is about. It's about being able to have those questions and have multiple people. I say regularly, we have between 7 and 9 people who participate in the panel. So we do have a lot of different people who can ask those questions or maybe address something. Maybe it's something one person didn't think about, but somebody else does. It does lead to other conversations with clients in order to not just clarify what people are asking, but also maybe to address some of the barriers or some of the concerns that maybe that person had, but they didn't say something. But somebody from the panel thought, you know what, what about this? And so it does give us more input as far as how to better serve our clients. Also, it's a good opportunity since the different people that are part of our panel might work in business services, or they're career planners from, you know, our healthcare career planner or our career planner that does the vast majority of like truck driving, you know, in some of those other fields, they may hear of something or know of something that they could say, oh, this person is going to need help with this. Oh, hey, I just heard, or hey, I just had a conversation with this agency and they're doing this program. So it really does lead to many people being able to assist that person, not just approval. So on this slide where it says the cultural shift is the process to take a holistic approach to the assistance of individuals completely to truly achieve success. So and we're not just talking about finishing school. We're talking about being successful and moving on. Again, those of us who've been around a long time, I'm sure that you guys have all been at the grocery store one time and somebody comes up and starts talking to you and tells you all about what's going on with their life. And I always laugh and think, okay, there was only one of me, but there were many of you. So as a career planner, a lot of times it was like, all right, I know this person I recognize the face, but not necessarily the name. So But that's why we're here, right? To see the changes in their entire life, not just finishing school positively and getting a job, but making a whole change for somebody. So next slide. So if that is it, anybody have any questions or comments?
Oh, not even for the chat. I think, while you're pondering this, again, we're a much smaller local workforce area than what Jennifer and Eva are in. And while I'm going to take some of the digital stuff, I'm stealing it. We're going to steal it, just so you know. But I know that we don't typically want to talk about COVID. However, I think what we find in our local workforce area is, particularly in the last couple of years, a more personal approach to people who have been isolated for a long time. That people have a need to talk, and they need, we're finding a need for a little bit more of a personal connection, and I think this works. I love the idea that since we've opened our doors back up, we've gone to having a weekly information session, which, by the way, we stole from Springfield, just so you know. Once a week, same time, same place, and we are seeing what pre-COVID numbers, Lori, of people who are coming into the American Job Center. And it helps us to drive traffic in there to allow people to see what else is up, who else is in here, what other, to really envision the fact that it is a one-stop and there are other services besides what we offer. But I think that Lori and I will be the first ones to tell you, she and I sort of drove this together. And we purposely had conversations that said, we need to stop talking about budget. We need to stop putting people through just because they're eligible. We need to take a different approach. And I think Lori and I can both attest to the fact that, and I wish Mark wasn't on this call right now, because we're heading into performance negotiations. Our performance has never been better. And so I think that's a testament to taking a more human-centered approach to how we bring people in through our process. And so, what I'd like to say, that performance doesn't matter. We all know it does. However, this has been and I said it in the beginning, a fundamental shift in the way we think about how we call them clients, how they come to us, how we deal with them, how we help them. And we are at this point, we're how many years into this, Lori? 4? And we're already having conversations like, okay, we've done this. Now let's look at it and make sure that there isn't anything that needs to be fine-tuned. What are we missing? How are we doing this intake process, and getting feedback from our clients to see if this is working? So we're in that let's analyze it process to make sure there's not anything that we need to do better. And that's it. That's all I got. So I'm sorry. Do you have any questions? I know there was one question I saw in the chat, Lori. Oh, from Christine. How do you direct the applicant to a drug screen before enrollment in CDL?
So the drug screening that is required for CDL is a little bit more, for getting behind the wheels, a little bit more extensive. So we just, when we send them the WorkNet packet, and we have that email conversation or phone conversation with them, we just explain they have to provide us with a negative drug screening. It doesn't need to be the same complete one that they will be required to do as far as the training goes to get behind the wheel, but we do need them to provide something. Because it's a short-term training, but there's usually a period of time with the state of Illinois making marijuana legal. Like we had seen a little bit of an uptick of people who then weren't passing their drug screening when it came to time to start driving. So we just started asking for it ahead of time. At first, we had concern over cost, but we have found a few places that that it's reasonable enough, and we've just made it part of our process.
Well, and the other notion to that is if this is something an individual really wants to do, it's okay for them to have a little skin in the game to make sure that it happens and that they're being held accountable and they're being responsible. If I want to be a truck driver, I need to prove to you that I can do this, and you're not going to spend a ton of money, and I'm going to pop a drug test, and now you've wasted, thousands of dollars on this. So it's a little, yes, marijuana is legal in Illinois, and yes, we've seen an uptick in it, but part of it is if you really want this, show me. And I think we've had tremendous success in putting our truck drivers through this process since we've instituted that.
All right, thank you very much, Teresa and Lori. And don't worry, we'll not hear what you just said when we go into negotiations. No, hey, we love to hear you're doing better. And we all have the same information when we go into negotiations, so it's not like it's any surprise. We'll be able to see if you're doing better or not, and we'll do the negotiation off that. But different story, different day for that discussion. Really appreciate all four of you. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Unless anyone just has a final comment from their LWIA to support what either of our four presenters have said that you might think everyone could benefit from, that you're doing well around this marketing outreach, intake, or application process. We do have some sessions coming up at the WIA Summit next week if you're all joining us there or virtually around career planning. So, playing off of these two presentations today, you can continue to hear more from various partners around how they're handling career planning or how the guidance dictates it should be occurring. So join us in those sessions if you're looking for something at a particular time. I know OAT is doing one around follow-up services on the second day. So we'd love to see you there, but I know there's 7 or 8 different sessions at any given time. So we understand that there are a lot of different sessions people might have interest in seeing. So we really look forward to continuing these types of discussions. So Paula and I, as we meet with your IWP Performance Task Force, will continue to ask. Apologize that we ask constantly, but very fortunate to have all of you to present today. And we'd love to highlight some other local areas and the work that you're doing. And it could be a particular subject around career planning or any of the services that need to be provided from our program. So think about it. Think how you can help all of us do better, improve. That's what this is always about, is continuous improvement. And speaking about the negotiation process, continuous improvement isn't only improving on a number. There are many ways that you can show, that your board can show that it's improving. Maybe you've done some new changes around policy or process or planning, and you aren't quite yet seeing the increase in the number and the actual outcome of your performance, but certainly can see improvements in efficiency or things of that nature. So think of it a little bit more broad, and if you've got an idea that you would love to share, please let Paula and I know. We'll meet with you, discuss, and as we find an appropriate topic and subject matter and time, we will coordinate another one of these WIA Wednesday webinars. And if we can get a couple of them together, I think that was really helpful today. They were very timely, always timely, but very good, very well coordinated. So let us know. We'd love to hear from all of you again, and appreciate all of your participation today.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, as Kirsten said, this will be recorded. Can we quickly post, for those still on, the materials in the screen share, or if you're registered, I guess you'll get an email with all these materials, right, Kirsten?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you don't have to wait around everyone and try to download them. You'll be receiving an email from Kirsten and the ICSPS team with the presentations today, so you'll have those as references, very shortly. Thank you again all for joining us. Have a great day and see you next week.
Bye-bye.